We think it's all over. And yet, through a bike accident is this amazing company that I have, and through a business partner that thought they would crush and extinguish my light, I now have a supplement wellness company that is busting through records for professionals that are putting it in their wellness clinics all over the United States. So my message for you today is, if you've been attacked, am I the only one that gets attacked over and over? Has anybody else? When you're down at your lowest, I want you to remember, again, those 3 emotions. I know my friend remembers it. You're down, you're crushed, and you're not feeling like you can even get up. In fact, you're feeling defeated. You lost your job. You lost your partner. Your husband walked out. Your wife walked out. The dog walked out. I don't know who walked out or what happened, but you're not feeling it. I want you to remember what those 3 emotions are. Gather. I want to see everybody do it. Gather your bearings, because you're going to need this one day. Whether it's prayer, meditation, quiet time, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, whatever it is, you're gathering the wind and you're getting ready. The second thing you're going to do is brush yourself off, and you're going to test the microphone. Bam! Mighty. I'm going to tell you in closing with a little story. And this is an emotional one for me. I don't know. I said I wasn't going to cry out here. I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm sad. I cry when I'm passionate. Good Lord, I wish I talking about abuse. I mean, it's really not nighttime reading material. But apparently her mom had read her the book and she loved it. So she says, yeah, she read your book to me. And I said, wow, that's amazing. What was your favorite chapter? And she goes, oh, I love the chapter about the water and all the things it does for your body. I'm like, oh, great. That's great. She goes, oh, and I'm really sorry about that other stuff that happened. I was like, okay. She says, I want you to write something in my book. I want you to sign my book. And I said, oh, I'd love to. So I gather my book and I open it up and I'm writing. And I wrote, to the most, and she's over my shoulder, to the most incredible young lady. Incredible young lady. And I look back at her and I finish writing, the most incredible young lady I have ever met. Keep shining. And she says, what does it say? And I said, I tell you that story because it's not about you. You're crushed and defeated. Oh, they're already doing it. You're going to gather your bearings. You're going to take whatever time you need. Then you're going to brush yourself off. Brush it. Brush it good. Brush it real good. And what's the last thing you're going to do? You're going to stand and you're going to shout, I am mighty. Yes, you are. I am told that there is just what you need right near you at any moment. By a video. All this world is by connection, and Ibble's got it going on. Promise me that you're going to do that before you leave. At least one person. So I think that they're about to shoo me off the stage. I want to tell you that I am your sister in faith and confidence. And whatever you do, I don't know if we're supposed to take
I'm the MC interviewing people. What do you have to do in the bike?
Hey, is there any way from now on you can let me know when it's half screen or full screen? Could we have oh, that was full screen. Gotcha. Because we have those ads up, so it cuts off like the right side of the frame. Like, so you copy.
this 80-degree weather. Oh my God. All right. Thank you for everybody who is here. Next up, I'm super excited for this next session, Women of Web3, joined by these two people. I'm going to introduce them. So you might be wondering, what's an NFT? Is Gary Vaynerchuk right? What is the metaverse? What is happening? Today, we have two people talking just about that. First off, we've got Amber Allen, CEO of AA Labs. That company has worked on so many brands to engage audiences in an authentic and human way, especially the metaverse. Hi, Amber. Hello. Awesome. And next, we have Tina Day, who joined Silverton Partners as principal in 2020 and focuses on investing and supporting founders as they build the companies that shape the future. Let's give a huge round of applause for Tina and Amber. Thank you. Woo!
Hey, thank you. All right. All right. Hello. Welcome.
Hi.
I'm glad y'all are joining us on this very cold and windy time. My name is Tina. This is Amber. We're going to do a quick introduction, but today we're going to go through what is Web3, our personal journeys with Web3, and some of the different trends that we're seeing and what we hope Web3 to be. And so, like Ibble had mentioned, I'm an investor at Silverton Partners, institutional investor in my day job. I also have a community of women in Web3. It's called We3, and it's about 2,000 plus women at this point, where we provide educational programming, social dinners, events, and investment opportunities so that women can get brought along in this Web3 space. I'm going to give a quick introduction of Amber. Amber Allen is the CEO and founder of
I'm definitely a gamer girl. I love my comics, as you can even see on my outfit here. That's what I really focus on, is that human connection in the digital world.
And can you tell us a bit more about what AA Labs does?
Yeah, I always say it's not about just the 500 people in the room. It's the 5 million people out there that also get to feel a part of it. And AA Labs is always focused on bringing innovation to market. We worked with HTC Vive. We've worked with many different esports events. And about 3 years ago, we started building digital custom worlds. And we really focused on 3D interactions. Like, if I step back, does that help? What we've ended up doing is that we actually built the WordPress for the metaverse, because it's a no-code toolkit and allows for everybody to build digital interactions and to be able to have that collaboration, be able to learn and play, because anything that you do and you experience and you get to play with, you enjoy it, you actually remember it. So that's what we work on.
Yeah, and so I guess before we get started, what is even Web3 anyway? And so I think at the most basic level, it is technology built on the blockchain. But I think the most important piece of this is that we're now decentralizing power away from companies, governments, and towards a user. So any user, consumer, developer is able to get their contributions were rewarded
Yeah.
within Web3. And so when you think of Web3, it is a host of industries, including blockchain, crypto, NFTs, the metaverse, DeFi, DAOs, and all these other buzzwords that you're hearing about. And so Amber, who's focused on metaverse, I would love to know how you got started in the metaverse, starting a decade ago.
Well, I mean, look, I am a gamer girl. So I grew up in a small town in East Texas in Longview. And I had friends in Germany. And I got to have friends all over the world playing Halo on my little headset and getting to talk to people and code in my little, build my bots to like collect games and stuff, tokens. And so it kind of started there for me. It made me realize the world was so much bigger and the access was there. And so I got to work for esports for Riot Games. I was actually brought on to build out the first ever arena event in the US. And I saw something amazing. It was this point where there were 7,860 kids at the Galen Arena, and we had a live stream, and they were able to play the games. Obviously, you're playing a game and you're learning it. That's what esports is all about. And we had almost 980,000 kids sign on. But what was so fascinating is about 3 hours in, it's only around 700. And what happened was we started doing drums, and we started like building different interactions in the live event that the streaming audience felt a part of. And they actually felt like they were in the room as well. And it jumped up in 30 minutes by hundreds of thousands of users. And so I find it really fascinating of like, how do you, in the Web3 and in the metaverse area, how do you make people feel like they're a part of the conversation, that they're a part of the room? And how do we also kind of make it open sourced? So I love that part about Web3 too. Like that's one big thing we're really focusing on in the product is we don't have to recreate everything. Miro's amazing whiteboard solution, right? Let's build it into our platform and allow other great products to be shown onto one platform.
And how do you, what are some of the biggest trends that you're seeing within this metaverse space? And what are some of these promises that Web3
world? And Web3 is more of the video and visual and the interactions back and forth. And so I think what's fascinating to me is we keep hearing so many conversations of where metaverses and Web3 will be in 10 years. But it's really important as people building in this space and playing in this area to build bridge products. If we're always speaking over people's heads, we're never going to get them there. And we're never going to have them actually enjoy it. And so for me, it really is understanding where like step one and step two. I'll give you a perfect example. We built 3D worlds. We called it Phygital World. And we built them in Unity and had these entire worlds. I mean, we did one in May of 2020 for Alienware. And we had a whole bunch of people there. We were live streaming. It was amazing.
Thousands of people. And what was fascinating is my college kids would spend 36 to 42 minutes in it. And my executives would spend 3 minutes. And so you have to have a product that will work for all generations, right? My hair's like flying everywhere. And so I think that is what I found fascinating is we actually have a 3D gaming engine.
But we build it in 2D and 3D because the least friction that you build in a product and something that's a newer technology, the more adaptable it will be, right? And so that's one of the things we really focus on is, and I think everybody needs to do that. So when you ask the question where we are with Web 2 or where we are with Web 3, I think we're just at the beginning. And someone once asked me, well, then what it really is the metaverse? And I like to say, the metaverse is just 3D webs. Like right now is 3D websites. How do you be interactive in one platform? And then we've done that in gaming for years.
So and so just a question for you on a AA Labs. When you think about using the metaverse to build a community and engage audiences, how do you think about creating those community connections and educating consumers about the realities of today's metaverse, removing those barriers and helping them drive towards a future?
Yeah, I mean, I think first the stage one is letting them feel like they're a part of the story. I think that's really important in any kind of product that we're building and in any technology. It's focusing on like how did they feel like they're getting to let it evolve. I mean, we talked about that right earlier with even like the DAO systems and such, right? Like how do you feel like, so a good example is I like to compare it because I've been in the gaming space for a very long time. And what I find interesting is We could do all of this awesome stuff for like esports 10 years ago when we were just starting it out, and people weren't really taking it that serious, right? Like VCs and investors. And my favorite was one of the VCs told me, and that's your world. He said, you know, I may not understand it, and I may not be the audience, but what I do understand is the Dota prize pool. If $24 million can be raised by the attendees to just watch their own pros and their professionals that they want to watch have a champion event, and the prize pool is raised by the attendees, he goes, then that proves that there is a fanatic space. And what I find interesting with right now with the Web3 and the metaverse area of what we can do on the current platforms is really look at how do we give people a voice? How are we allowing them to come in and be a community, but also allow for the micro communities?
Which is so fascinating because you may think, and this goes back to being in East Texas, you may think you're the only girl gamer, and then you get online and you're like, no, there's a ton of us, right? So it's that whole kind of finding your tribe
in your communities, and I think that's what's so important for me in these areas.
I do super fascinating because if you look at the Dota example, which is people sort of crowdsourcing donations,
what they want
towards a prize pool, such that they can see their favorite video gamers play. It's almost like the first iteration of a DAO, where you're just crowdfunding. It's something that you want to make happen in the world.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love that with like, what is it, Royal is doing right now for music. It's like the NFT. So if you want to like have a certain song or you want to see something, you can actually be a part of something being created. And I think that's, to me, right now, yes, NFTs may be a little bit of a stamp collection because you can't use it in a whole bunch of places. But what I do love about it is it has the potential to be able to make things happen, like be a part of the creation of stuff, right? Like I'm maybe a gamer girl, but I love my fashion. Having a world where you actually like get to see certain fashion things that'll come out for like our, the comic style or things like that would be really cool. I would pay for that as a part of a group.
Yeah, actually, talk about the fashion piece for a second. So I know Chanel and Gucci, they're both here at South by Southwest doing some sort of digital experience, and would love to know how that dovetails into the whole Web3 world.
Yeah, I mean, I love that there's a new pop-up that's here for South by with Chanel.
Chanel, that's the Innovation Lab, and I'm like, obviously, I'm going to check it out. But I think what's interesting is what we saw even like with Decentraland, where there was fashion shows going on, and you're actually to walk through them. I think what's interesting right now is with the NFTs
is I'm not seeing it a lot, but there's a lot of conversations around. You buy a certain purse, and then you get the NFT with it, so you'll have it in your digital representation. So for me, what we're working on is actually being able to tie it in for commonality. So imagine, for those of you that may not have seen the platform on AA Labs, it takes the video from just like you would a Zoom, and you can walk around a space in a room. So right now we're actually building in to where you click on the circles, and it'll give you the 5 things that will be that define you, the digital assets. Eventually, I believe those could also be NFTs. But when you meet somebody on a digital presence, or if I meet you here in a room, it's hard to understand, know much about you, to know the things that we may have in common. And so what I think is interesting is how do you find ways to actually utilize our digital assets or our NFTs to be a part of who we are, right? And then whenever I see your bubble and I click on it and it's got your 5 things, maybe one of them's race cars, and I'm like, no way, I like race cars, and so it immediately finds something in common with someone that lets you be a whole person, not one-dimensional, which is what digital is doing right now.
And so a lot of it sounds like it's still sort of facilitating in real life experiences. And so when you think about building a community on the metaverse, how do you think about balancing how that facilitates something in real life?
Yeah, I think that's what's so fascinating. I think people should not be trying to create virtual to be like real life. Real life's pretty freaking amazing. I think what it should be doing is doing all the things that real life doesn't do. I can meet someone, I have a great conversation with them. We may live in different places, but we may both have an interest. So imagine I come up to you after something like this, and we have all these great conversations and panels going on, and then I get onto the ibble platform, and I'm showing different videos, and I'm saying, hey, why don't you meet me back up here on Tuesday, and I'm going to actually have a conversation, and I'm going to listen to something that's a talk series that I love. and then I happen to see you in the platform, you're like, oh, cool, let's go and like have a little quick conversation, right? So my biggest thing is how do you extend community? So if you're meeting someone, how do you extend them to where you get to keep in touch till the next time? And I think that's what digital media should be doing.
Got it. And how do you think about VR as a forum for making metaverses?
Yeah, I mean, I actually have played in the VR space quite a bit, and I mean, I will never forget if you've ever played Survios Raw Data. So the first time I put on the headset, I get to play with someone else. It was one of the developers. I was trying out this game. It was like 5 years ago. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, like, you really forget for a second. Like, you're in there, and all of a sudden, he turns around, and he goes, Amber, turn around, catch. And I have it, and I caught it, and I shot the thing, and I was like, oh my God, that was so cool. Like, it was so fun in the moment to, like, you forgot, right? And so I've always loved it. My problem is the adaptability. I have a headset. I have to charge it. I got to remember to map the rooms. My sister doesn't have one. It's not like I can like jump on with a lot of different people. So I think right now,
For me, I'm not building in a space because I just don't believe the adaptability is there yet. When it gets less clunky, let's see what Apple is going to do.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Because if you look back into
the different evolutions of the internet, in some ways, a lot of those are actually tied to a hardware device. For instance, Web 2 and mobile. And I'm curious what Web 3 might be if it isn't necessarily a VR headset.
Yeah, it's interesting. There was DC Fandom was a huge online event that was content and creation. They had 24 million people. This was in August of 2020. And we worked on some of that. And they had, out of that 24 million people, still during very much lockdown with COVID, 95% was mobile.
Wow.
So the fact that if you don't create something in this space for mobile right now, then you're missing out on a huge chunk of audience.
Huh.
So
Wow.
it's something that's always around you. So.
And so aside from the metaverse, where else do you spend time?
in Web3.
Okay, so I find it fascinating for the wallets and anybody that's bought the NFTs and they have the cryptos, and we were talking about this. So I have my MetaMask, I have my OpenSea, I did my Coinbase for my crypto, and I had all of it lined up. And then I was like, the other day, I was like telling you, and I was like, okay, I have it all together, and I think I've done it right, but why isn't it all syncing? And then you're like, push a couple buttons, and it was there. But I think that's what's fascinating me is it's still on so many different platforms to make it all play together. So I think it's interesting.
No.
You actually taught me, and I think you should share some of the ways that
Oh
how
my
they all
gosh.
link together to even have a wallet.
So my personal journey with Web3 actually started maybe in 2015. I just kind of heard a lot about Bitcoin and Ethereum, and at some point someone convinced me to buy a handful. And so I did, and then it doubled in price. I sold half, and then I just like let it sit there, didn't think about it. And then this past couple years, I just kept hearing about Web3, and I really felt like I was getting left behind. And so I made a really proactive effort to start learning more about what Web3 even is, because in a lot of ways, it's not even a single category. It is transformational for any industry you can think of. And so I joined a DAO called which was an educational DAO to learn about the different types of concepts. And within
Okay,
it,
you might
that's
have
where
to
I
tell
started.
a little bit about what a DAO is.
Yes.
'Cause I just got asked about that yesterday. So tell her what is a DAO?
A DAO is effectively just a community that has some sort of voting mechanism that each individual member can contribute to, meaning you can vote on, what session am I going to learn about for this next time that we meet, or which investment should we make in which startup, which NFT should we purchase. So some sort of community where the bonding mechanism of a community is around around any topic, but the community members have some say as to what this DAO's activity is and what the collective resources of this DAO might do. And so that's just what a DAO is.
Awesome.
So I joined this educational DAO, learned all the stuff you're talking about. How do you send money from Coinbase to your wallets? How do you bridge different chains? What's a layer 1? What's a layer 2? And that's how I first got my toes wet in Web3. Where I still find myself gravitating to is how do I make sure that Web3 is accessible, because we're so early in the frontier of Web3.
Yeah, that's what
and I see a lot of the same pieces of history repeating, meaning I work in venture. There's 5% of females who are partners. I see technology companies, it's a quarter leadership are females.
Female founded startups, they're getting less than 2.5% of venture funding, and it went down last year. And so when I see these trends and I see Web3 and almost the risk appetite you have to jump into a whole new frontier, where I feel the most passionate is how do I bring women along in this journey. And so that's why I've been spending a lot of my time on this V3 community to help women bond and learn together. But most importantly, what I do is
I provide them access to really amazing startups in Web3, such that they can participate and become either a consumer, an investor, a champion of that product, and possibly work in a Web3 company one day.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's true. It's like what you research and what you know is what you invest in, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember when I first started doing stocks and stuff, I was like, NVIDIA. I'm like, ooh, that 1080 graphic card, that's pretty amazing. I'm gonna go invest in that one. So it's like what you love is what you find you'll invest in, right? And so I think it's wonderful, your group and your community. I joined it of like really understanding parts of spaces, because I love the metaverse area. I'm building in that, but there's so much more of Web3 that is not just that. The DAO systems, the NFTs, how do you use the blockchain and how you pair it together, right? So I think it's really interesting of the different ways in those fields and in that space.
Yeah, and I don't think I think when someone looks at Web3 as just a general topic, it's super intimidating because you have to be an expert in what you do. And for instance, Amber, you're an expert in metaverse. You've spent so many years in the metaverse, and you didn't know, for instance, how to send ETH from Coinbase to your MetaMask to purchase an NFT, right? And so it's all seemingly daunting, but I feel like it just takes like starting talking about it and putting energy towards a subject, and then it kind of starts coming towards you.
Well, and I think what I find fascinating is it's more of what the concepts are.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think, one example I always say is people are like, well, and my favorite is when brands are like, will metaverse really take off? And I always tell them, I'd like you to take 3 seconds. I want you to look around the room of where you are, wherever you're at right now. Take the 3 seconds. Now I'd like you to tell me what you just saw. And it'll take you 10 minutes to tell me about it and to tell me all the details and the noises. And we're here at South by, right? We're hearing all kinds of cool things happening all around us. It's so alive. And so to share that would take about 10 to 15 minutes. Now for me to write it down, you're talking pages. Welcome to what Web 3, Web 2, and Web 1 was, right? Of like newspapers and all that, was everything written down. And then we have our social media, which is everybody talking. And now visually being able to see it, I can consume so much more information so much faster. So as we build in our spaces, having something of like a website that you go into and it's dimensional instead of just scrolling up and down lets me consume so much more information. But now that we're consuming, what's also important in that? And that's where I am super passionate about where's our artist? And I love that NFTs it started with art, right? I mean, it's kind of back in the Greek and Roman times when they'd make the coins and it would be like really cool designs, right? We're kind of getting back to parts of that, which is so neat. So it's like, how do we give a voice and more to beauty and art, because that is a part of that human connection that we should be as humans hitting.
And I also think the other point you're hitting on is a lot of the Web3 trends and a lot of the form factors they are today will not persist likely in the future, right? Because a lot of what we're doing, even when you think about like Sandbox VR or Sandbox, that there were games before where you could purchase pieces within the game.
Yeah.
A lot of this isn't new, but it's more like the big picture of there is something fundamental that's shifting here, that's attracting talent really rapidly. And when I see founders in Web3, everyone's building with such momentum. It's like a single day in Web3 is probably equal to a week in Web2 from...
Well, it's because it's collaborative.
It is,
Everybody can build on top of it at the same time and share ideas and concepts. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when you say that, it actually reminds me that DAOs, actually, the premise of a DAO, or I think what DAOs are trying to do is the value of any... the value creation actually starts with community.
Yeah.
And DAOs are, for the first time, trying to almost like formalize, in some ways, this value creation of how do you actually look at a community. If you think about it, me meeting Amber, like us collaborating on things all starts with some version of a community. We meet within a community. We start spinning off of that community. We connect each other with other people within our own community. Right. And I think DAOs are trying to just sort of formalize, like, going back to the atomic unit of community as the basis of value creation.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so cool is, like, right now it's one of the platforms, it's like always on, right? And so in their brand will actually like create and put stuff and go, okay, hey, what is the 4 things that you would like to see next on our product? And they'll actually give like visual examples. And then the community gets to come in and vote on it. And the top 2 is exactly what they're making. There's nothing better than feeling like you're heard. Yeah. And right now, a lot of times that doesn't happen when a brand creates a fashion line or a product is there. They don't have that direct communication. They do a focus group of 50 people, and they'll have it a certain demographics and certain stereotypes, and then boom, that's what they create. Yeah. So having more answers in mass is awesome.
Yeah, and so I am told that we have a few more minutes left. I want to ask Amber, for people who are getting started in Web3, do you have any resources you want to share? Or any parting thoughts around AA Labs?
Yeah, I mean, we're putting quite a few articles and stuff, on our AA Labs stuff. But I think what's interesting is nobody's got it figured out. And this is what's so fun about it. It was like somebody else the other day was like, well, I don't like how materialistic NFTs are and how much it's just like a bragging rights. And I go, then change it. Like, this is what's wonderful in being a part of something that is new and learning about it. You get to actually have a voice. And how do you want it to be? That's the whole point of Web3 is that you're supposed to have a voice and build together, right? Yeah. So I think that is what's exciting to me is it's that if you feel that it needs something different, get involved and start changing. Because right now we're all really figuring it out.
Yeah, and no one knows what they're doing because it's under their belt at this point.
Yeah, I do think that there's a lot of the similar principles that we've seen in gaming. And people are saying, why would people buy something, a digital asset? And I'm like, are you kidding me? And I own all kinds of RP in my Call of Duty and my League of Legends and all that, right? So we've always bought digital skins or digital assets. So it's not a new concept. It's just how do we actually use that same concept to actually better our lives? And I think that's one other thing I think is interesting is with NFTs. I think right now, so many times people will talk and say that they're a part of something or they really care passionately about a cause, but then they actually don't back it up with anything. And one of the things we were working on right now is kind of that social NFT, where it's like you actually go out and give your time to something or your money, and then you get that badge. Yeah. Well, imagine you're walking around in that digital space, and I see that badge, and I'm like, no way, I love that cause too. But it's not just a cause that you said you cared about, it was actually backed up by something that you did. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I would say that if anyone's interested in learning more about We3, the website too would be a great resource for you to check out. It's hello-we3.com, and then you can take a look. Anyone can join and sort of take a look at our educational programs, dinners, and investment opportunities. And Amber, where can people find AA Labs and maybe pick your brain about how companies can include the metaverse?
I always say it's AA Labs. Double is spelled out because American Airlines beat me to the AA. So yeah, it's AA Labs, and I'm on Instagram as well as AmberAllen_AA. So I post things on Twitter and everything too. So
amazing.
It's our world.
Cool. So we're gonna wrap up here, and then we'll be around for questions. We'll be hanging out here for the next 15-20 minutes.
Perfect. Yeah, and we're posting this as well on ibble. So check us out. Add us, please.
Yes.
Thanks.
Right here, we've got snacks, we've got alcohol, we've got warmth inside. Our next topic is going to be in about 29 minutes, and it's going to be with the author of the book, Life Beyond a Dream. What happens after a dream dies? How do you move on? How do you recover? How do you do more? I'm going to be interviewing him. I'm super excited for that topic, so please stick around until 1 o'clock. Thank you, everybody.
My legs are not working. I feel like my legs are like
Forever. I'm trying to hold this and I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna head out. Pretty much.